Hello guys, welcome back. It's Christian from Emotions in Wine. As promised a few weeks ago, there is a lot cooking and a lot of developments. You may have seen already the video in the historical Enoteca wine shop in Trieste. And today we start with the top grapes, Pinot Noir as per title, doing tasting from different regions. So here is the grape. It's not the region and the wine. It's really the grape, the focus. So today we have three wines, like some time back. Of course, Burgundy Pinot Noir. Sorry, this one. Italian Pinot Noir and Hungarian Pinot Noir. So I picked three different regions, but in a similar latitude, and we will see more of the details later. Pinot Noir is the prince, the most noble grape. The literal translation from French means black pine because of the shape of the bunch, which is very tight. So thin skin, tight bunch, so it's very delicate. A lot of troubles in the farming and needs cooler climate, but dry. The wet is very problematic for mold creation, being that kind of bunch, etc. So it's a prince in every sense, that is very delicate, but very classy, elegant. The most expensive wines are from Burgundy. Romanée Conti is probably the symbol. Is very terroir-driven wine, so can express the terroir very well. So nowadays it's made in many corners of the planet, and the styles are different. You can, when you have enough experience, most of the times you can recognize at least roughly the area. Of course, not absolutely, because even the winemaking nowadays make a lot of difference. As usual, live, I just tasted the wines to see that they are fine. Quick impression, and I picked representative regions of Europe. Of course, New Zealand, California, and Oregon more lately, even Patagonia in Argentina, already a few years, are all top-notch besides many other regions. But first of all, I stick to Europe, and second, I wanted to consider similar conditions also, and then also a matter of availability, because nowadays Germany is the third biggest producer of Pinot Noir in the world. First is France and second is US, but it's very tough to find on markets German Pinot Noir so far. I tried several even 10-15 years ago, very good. Why? First of all, because they are a bit more north, so there is a bit cooler climate. Now the temperature is a bit rising, that helps. And then in Germany, usually most of the regions have different soils, not just the classic limestone clay like in Burgundy. So then give also different characters. But I focus on some in similar latitudes and also quite similar soils, not that completely, because the Hungarian is from volcanic soil, which is a recent trend. There are some regions in the world with mixed, also some volcanic, but purely volcanic regions where Pinot Noir is planted are mostly in Hungary, and recently also Etna in Sicily. But I know even in Oregon and in some German regions there is a bit of volcanic soil too. So different and new trend in a way, because it's the last decades, because traditionally it's limestone and clay, and then can be a bit chalky, a bit of sandy, but limestone clay is the base usually, traditionally. Burgundy, like Alto Adige in Italy, North Italy, so bordering Austria, that is the German-speaking part of Italy. That is, for me, still the closest in soil composition. Okay, it's more mountainous than Burgundy, of course, because there are the mountains surrounding Alto Adige, but the valley has limestone clay mostly, some sandy. Altitude is a bit higher than Burgundy, but Burgundy is a bit more north, so that rebalance a bit. There are cool winds in the night in Alto Adige, so there is a lot of similarity. For me, it's the most comparable. Of course, some areas, they are higher altitude, a bit more on the slopes of the mountains. But Mazzon, which is where the wine we taste today is from, and is the main area in Alto Adige for the Pinot Noir, is really similar in all aspects. I picked, of course, Pinot Noir because I love it. I wanted to start with the most noble of all. Of course, here is a tasting of wines that give a sort of character, will show a bit the differences, but it's also the winemaking, the vintages, of course, involved. But I will keep more on the differences by the locations more than the winery and other details. So let's start. We start with the Hungarian. So this is Villa Tolnay. Csobancz is the location, is the volcano, as you can see. Pinot Noir unfiltered, specified 2021. Second one, I said Burgundy, so André Goichot is the winery. Bourgogne Hautes-Côtes de Nuits, 2021. I opened the bottles about an hour ago. Third one, Brunnenhof, Mazzon is specified here, so the sub-region. Johann Blauburgunder, because they use the German way to call it. Südtirol, Alto Adige, 2022. I keep it last because it has a bit more alcohol. The other are 13, this is 13.5, and 22 was warmer, so it's expected to have a bit more body, even if a bit less acidity than the previous, because 21 was a bit more complicated, so the acidity were higher, a bit everywhere, both in Burgundy and North Italy and also Hungary. Balaton area is almost at the same latitude of Burgundy. But of course then temperatures, rain is all different, but the warmth was the constant in 22, and in 21 more rains was the constant a bit everywhere. The colors are already a bit different, of course all ruby light. The most dark ruby is the Hungarian, medium intensity, while the French has even almost a hint of Garnet on the rim, you can say, and is a bit less intense than the Hungarian. And the Alto Adige is also quite light, but still a bit more ruby. Yeah, I would say still ruby. Here on the second there is a hint of Garnet on the rim. But the Alto Adige probably is a bit lighter than the others. So it's a sort of progression down in the intensity of the color. There is also a matter of winemaking, as I hinted before. So I will focus more on the regions, because some characters are quite typical, I think. Okay, this one is the only one that I know, but I didn't try the 21 before this bottle. I tried the 2020, while the other two are both new to me. The French André Goichot is one of the historical family négociants, so merchant, from 1947. So still family sized, not like the huge négociant. So I went for something that sounded interesting and even in the same price range in their own country. So in their own respective country, this is about 20, the other two, so Hungarian and Italian, are about 23 euros. So they are very similar range, similar age, all young wines, is entry wines more or less, even if Hautes-Côtes de Nuits is not the basic Bourgogne, is on the top of the coasts, literally translated, high coasts of the valley at about 300-400 meters. So it has more similar altitude to the Alto Adige one, while the Balaton lake is low altitude. The volcanoes are really like a small volcano shape. Csobancz is one of them, but the vineyards go up maximum 100 meters, something like that. 200 maybe is maximum, so it's lower. So let's go for Villa Tolnay Hungarian Pinot Noir. The first is fruit. Here is not just the red fruit that is very typical of Pinot Noir, different berries. Here there is also a bit of a black one. winemaking is quite similar overall. Majority use all used cask, his case, and also the Italian. The French is 50% cask, 50% steel, and it's not specified the cask, so maybe new, but still only 50%, so it's not giving too much influence. The minerality here marks because of the volcanic soil. There is clay on top, depending on the point of the slope, but basalt, so the dark rock, volcanic rock, is the base. Let's see, Goichot. Hautes-Côtes de Nuits is an appellation that I love in general because it has a bit higher acidity, being higher than the standard vineyards. So for the, let's say, the entry ones from Burgundy is one that always give me some pleasure, also in the longevity that shows well in the time because of that, and is more rocky. The limestone has very little topsoil clay because of the top of the slopes, so that is also giving more minerality and more vibrancy. Here there is, of course, the red fruit, but then a good spicy, so I think they use new oak in that 50% part, and already start a hint of tertiary notes, not dirty, but the direction. Let's see the Alto Adige. As said, is 300-400 meters. Mazzon is the top location in Alto Adige. Is exposed to west, so that is good because the hot sun is only in the afternoon. Noon is still diagonal because they are on the slope of the mountain, and majority is limestone, clay, and sandy. So the sandy part can give a bit of more elegance. But as I said, 22 was warmer vintage, so this has a bit more alcohol and a bit more structure and less acidity, at least expected. The first impression also gave me that idea. So this, I can say, is typical Alto Adige. You have the fruit and then some herbal, like mint, and after start some spicy. They use Tolnay, so the spiciness shouldn't affect much. And this is younger, so let's remember also that it's only 2 years something. Quite different, all three. So this has a bit of herbs, and then changing now. This has a bit more spicy, and the first is more fruit and mineral. So, in a way, characteristic also of the territory. So let's start with the tasting. Continues this fruit, quite pleasant, red and black berries, and the mineral, just a touch of spicy. The owner of Villa Tolnay is Swiss, so he has the reference of French wines for the elegance. He's one of the best wineries in Balaton area. Very, very nice palate. Great depth, very mineral. At the beginning you have the fruit and a bit more spicy actually on the palate, but it's very vibrant, so the freshness, the minerality, and very long, lasting a lot. Surprise compared to the nose, has more body in a way, depth, than expected from the nose that is still very youngish. So very interesting. Yeah, nose is not changing much so far. Still a lot of those fruits and the mineral, a touch of spicy, and not showing much else. On the palate is more impressive. Very pleasant. The good acidity keeping you salivating, but good depth. The mineral. The tannin, of course, is very gentle, silky. All these wines, Pinot Noir has little tannin and is always silky. It's one of the top characteristics of the elegance of these wines. So, good start. Bit of surprise, honestly. Now we are on Goichot, as said, Hautes-Côtes de Nuits 21. This is really French. Indeed, those red berries and a good intensity of spiciness. That is the barrique. Good elegance and complexity also. The other is elegant, but it's not that complex. So it's more about straightforwardness and the depth on the palate. But here there is more elegance and complexity. The color also is showing that this is younger, the Hungarian. The French has a bit more maturity already. That's tough to say depending on what. Probably the Hungarian can age longer. But here loads of spices and fruit, minerality coming after. Surprised, but the first one is a bit longer. This is already more balanced in a way also. Good acidity still. As I said, 21 was that kind of character and higher altitude, so for sure it's cooler. But it's more balanced overall and even a bit less deep than the other. So more elegance and complexity, but less depth respect to the Hungarian. Now it's changing a bit more. The nose, so the complexity is quite good. Some more tertiary, so some touch of earth is starting. It's also something like tobacco, chocolate. Has a bit of presence of the tannin now. The other is longer, but it's more with the minerality and the juiciness and the freshness. Here, the tannin is a bit more relevant. Anyway, completely different, we can say. So now let's go for the Alto Adige. So André Goichot, as I said, merchant, so they are negociant. I found some good comments, so it seems, even from the taste, a nice choice. But of course, it's not the domain, the small winery that I usually try to find. This one is a medium-sized winery, so this is a negociant, so it's big. And Brunnenhof is medium-small, I guess maximum 100,000 bottles. And they started environmental friendly immediately, so more my concept of niche product. And as I said, the region that I consider the closest in terroir to Burgundy. Keep changing. So as I said at the beginning, the red fruits, then came out the herbs, typical of Alto Adige usually, some mint and some others. Still these red berries, even raspberries. The spiciness is still not that much. There was also here a hint of earthy or tertiary note, but this is too young. So the comparison, these two can be compared. This one is just to see how the terroir is making it, but it's a younger vintage and different vintage. So it's showing a bit more roundness, even in the nose character. As said, this has a bit more alcohol, slightly more body. Consequently, is already quite round. This is really their entry. They make a Riserva and a single vineyard. Those are other stories, but this is all about 20 plus euros. That's the point. So it's less long, quite good complexity and elegance indeed, but on the palate is a bit rounder compared to both the others. Yeah, there is less acidity, clearly. That is the vintage also. Still recognizable characters even on the palate of the Alto Adige. Even there you have this kind of herby, spicy things. Is still good freshness and well balanced. Of course, this will have the least aging potential, I guess, of the three, and is not that long like the Hungarian, or that more vibrant tannin like in the French. Keep changing. Of course, here mainly gentle dishes of meats are perfect. So I reconfirm what I said. Very pleasant, elegant, good complexity, less than the French, but more than the Hungarian, but is the most balanced, also due to the vintage, and quite recognizable, the Alto Adige style. Still good freshness and minerality, but slightly less compared to the others. So last round, we start with the Hungarian. Csobancz is near Balaton, a bit inner, so there is a bit cooler in the night time. That helps for sure in the freshness and in the aging potential of the wine. It didn't change a lot, a bit more, touch of spice, so it's really showing youthness. Elegant, pleasant, I would say too young to appreciate properly. But on the palate, it's really giving a good vibe, as I said before, because of this mineral, fresh and length. Overall, a very nice expression on volcanic, 100% volcanic soil. So the French so far seems the most interesting to my taste. Still this good complexity changing a bit. Yeah, good length, good tannin. Salivating also, good complexity. It's a nice one. From a quite big negociant, I'm quite impressed. This one is the best rating of the three, and they are all rated quite well. You know, I don't like, if you follow me, to rate, so I'm not gonna tell anything, but I consider them all great expressions. As usual, I try to propose you different things. If you can find something that I propose and try it and get happy or even excited and saving money, because most of the things that I propose are good value for money, I'm very happy with the result. That is my main target, to give emotions with great wines that cost reasonably. The Alto Adige could also express more tonight, because it's still changing, so the complexity is good. It's more elegant, the French, than this one. In Italy, Alto Adige is by far the main Pinot Noir region, but in Europe is one of the most relevant, even if it's not that spoken about. Yeah, keep changing. So very nice. Also remember, just 2 years something, so has to give much more next year compared to the other two that are older. So overall, an interesting range, all different in a way or the other. Characteristic, this of volcanic, this of Burgundy, and this of Alto Adige with a bit more roundness than usual, but with those typical characters. So nice tasting, and I hope guys you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, comment please, and see you next time. Thank you.